We are live. We are live.
Oh my goodness. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye, king of technical difficulties. Welcome to the Dukes of Gaming podcast. And of course, Thomas isn't here this week. I don't think Cole's here this week. And I don't think Ben's here this week. Because today is Halloween. And today I am Mark Zuckerberg. How is everybody doing this week?
Good. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Living in the metaverse.
Who is joining me in this metaverse this week?
Well, my name is Peter Vinkman. I am one of the 4 Ghostbusters.
I'm, of course, I'm, of course, Venom Snake from Metal Gear Solid 5 with the chicken hat equipped.
There he is.
Because I'm terrible at this game.
Like, if you wore that out in public and someone said that you were from Metal Gear Solid 5, that'd be unbelievable.
You have to make them your best friend immediately.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, of course, this is the Dukes of Gaming podcast. Good to be here another week hanging with my fellow Dukes, of course. And I'm glad to be hanging with you all as well as we bring you into our world of video games. You can find us on your favorite podcast service. Watch us live on Twitch and watch us after the fact on YouTube. And of course, we have to start with the age-old gamer question. What have we been playing this week on this spooky Halloween's Eve? And I'll go first. Just I'm pretty quick. I have been playing 2 games in particular, both very violent games, and I think very fitting for Halloween. The first I'll talk about is Last of Us Part 1. I've been meaning to, just get this done. I told you I got it on GameFly. And yeah, this is still the Last of Us, experience that is one of the best experiences I've ever had in gaming. It's been a while since I went through the game 100% fully through. And it is hard to say this was not the best gaming experience I've had all year. Just because one of my favorite games of all time in the best format it could possibly be put in. They did a really good job with this remake. I take back every negative opinion I had on it when we first saw it.
Full reversal from his
reversal.
Your $10 Game Pass or rather GameFly subscription.
Right. Look, because honestly,
and if it was $70, would you say the same?
I would say I might pull the trigger on this when it comes to PC.
Okay.
I might pay full price for it on PC.
It's that good compared to the other remastered version?
Yeah, I downloaded the remastered version and kind of was going back and forth between them. And yeah, it's like a 2-generation difference. Like one definitively feels like a PlayStation 3 game. And the other one, it feels like a next-gen experience.
Wow.
So I highly recommend it. I understand if everybody doesn't want to pay $70. I'd say if you can get a GameFly subscription, do a free trial, get it that way. That was the way I did it. It's probably going to come to PlayStation Plus Essential at some point. Probably want to wait for that as well. But I just feel that everybody should at least experience this. If you have played through if you never played through The Last of Us, or you haven't played through it in a while, I feel like it's in your best interest to try this version out because this is the definitive version of this game. Highly recommended. Would be my game of the year if it qualified for it.
Did you play at 30 FPS or 60?
I started at 60, but I went to 30 because that's the experience that I remember with this game. And the graphics are so good that I didn't want to put it back to 60 because it just looked incredible popping on my OLED screen. It's it's probably the best looking game I've seen I think Horizon probably looks better just from the standpoint of it's this vibrant world, it's very colorful.
Yeah.
From just from a realistic kind of graphical style, there's nothing that really competes with this. This is incredible looking. And I didn't realize how good The Last of Us Part 2 looked as well, because I kind of popped that back in after I finished this. I still was trying to get more of that, kind of feeling, and man, Last of Us Part 2 almost looks as good as the remake. So highly recommend that as well. Yeah, just overall great experience. And honestly, a pretty good Halloween game. The death animations alone are some of the scariest things I've seen. So yeah, highly recommended. And then the other game I've been playing is not a scary game, but definitely scary adjacent. Doom Eternal. I've started this game more times than I can count, probably like 8, 9 times, and just never got through. And this is the first time where I just sat down and said, I'm just gonna play through this and see how far I can get. And yeah, I mean, it's a solid first person shooter. I think it's leagues lower than the original Doom 2016. Like I consider Doom 2016 a near perfect video game because I don't know what I would do better when it comes to that, because I feel like it did everything so perfectly, from the pacing, from the combat. I feel that Doom Eternal has a lot of that in it, but then you mix in like this uninteresting story mixed in with this unintuitive combat, and it turns what could be a better version of 2016 into something I feel is a little lesser. That's not to say it's a bad game. I like it a lot. I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna play through all of them. Probably about 75% through. But right now, I consider it an inferior experience to 2016 Doom.
Yeah,
But maybe my
I
opinion
get
will
that.
change when I get down the road. And yeah, went along a little longer than I thought. But yeah, that's what I've been playing this week. Nothing too crazy. I do want to get to Cole, since you're in your uniform. What have you been playing this week?
Well, surprise, surprise. I've been playing Ghostbusters. Me and Alfredo streamed this Monday, I think.
Where'd you stream it at? Yep.
Twitch.tv/the Dukes of Gaming.
Is that right? Is that right?
Is that right?
I threw that one to you real quick.
Is it
I
Twitch.tv/the Dukes of Gaming? Is it Dukes of Gaming?
I am pretty sure if that's not it, just go in the search bar, type in Dukes of Gaming. We should be up there.
It is. No, it is. You're right. It is the Dukes of Gaming. Yes.
Nice.
There we go. Nice.
Okay, so this is Ilphonic's new asymmetrical multiplayer game. This is their third one, I believe. They did Friday the 13th, then Predator, and then this, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Correct. Predator seemed like it was just, it came and went. I didn't hear hardly anything about it. This one's probably going to do the same thing, which, I mean, it's good. It's solid. It's a way more polished. The graphics are actually really nice. I mean, it's a much more solid experience. And Friday the 13th was just a mess, but Friday the 13th was special. It came out. It was a mess, and it was almost funny, like all the bugs and everything.
Yeah.
But the experience worked so good because it was scary. You had Jason chasing you. The music kicked up when he was like kind of in your area. It just worked so good. It had that scary feel, and it was so quirky. But like when you escaped and you lived against Jason, it was huge. It didn't happen much. A lot of times he'd win, so it felt like a big accomplishment. This game is just, I don't know. Gosh, I hate that it's not that special because I love Ghostbusters. It's one of my favorite franchises, but it's just I don't know. It's just not very deep. That you can upgrade your backpack and your trap, but it just feels like, I don't know. It feels very samey, and it feels like there's not that much strategy. And I don't know. I think did y'all watch the stream a little bit? I know Ben did.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I watched
What
a second of it
from watching it.
It looked like pretty much every other asymmetric multiplayer game that I've seen.
Yeah.
I did like the art style of it. That it was kind of cartoony, and it had that had a bit of charm to it. But yeah, I don't know. These games typically aren't for me. So
there's a bit of a story mode thing, which I haven't really touched on, but I would like to do that since I like the story of Ghostbusters, and so that's kind of different. The other ones, I think the other two games didn't have a story. So I'd like to see that, but I don't know. The gameplay, it feels okay. It just, It's just not what I was hoping it would be. Now, that said, there's another Ghostbusters VR game I don't know if it's asymmetrical VR game. Have y'all heard of this Ghostbusters VR game?
No.
Yeah,
Enlighten us.
yeah, so it was announced at one of the Oculus events that we all talked about. It wasn't Connect. I think it was in the spring.
I think I vaguely remember this.
Yeah.
I think I do
This
vaguely
would be
remember
awesome in
this.
VR. Like this exact game in VR would be wholly different.
Well, I
Like,
do have a question. Are there any asymmetric games in VR?
no, I don't think so. It would
I
be
feel like
great.
I feel like this type of game would be perfect for VR.
Yeah, because I feel like the strength of this game is when you have a good party and you're talking. And in VR, people have a tendency to communicate more because they feel like they're immersed as opposed to just sitting at their desk, playing.
Especially if you can get like the sound right. So like if
Mhm.
let's say Freddy or Jason's chasing you, like they can't hear your whispers, but they can hear if you're yelling.
Yeah, see, that's cool. That's
Like
cool.
that'd be. I'm pretty sure that's a
Well,
VR developer screaming in my ear, like, "Do you know how long that would take to develop?" But I think something like that would be kind of cool. I think
No, that's not terribly hard to do.
it's not okay.
No, yeah, that kind of like
this one I feel like would work
spatialization
really.
of audio.
Yeah,
Those are a lot of running, so I feel like that would be not as ideal as Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is like the kind of like, so if we were all had a ghost in the middle of the room, we're all communicating with each other, like trying to wrangle him, and I'm like, Thomas, Ben, throw out your trap, and you got to slide your little trap. You have to like actually look down, grab it, slide it across the room. So it's a lot of stationary standing too, and like wrangling the ghost,
yeah.
So I think it would work really well in VR, but I don't know. It
You
wasn't.
sound bummed.
I am bummed. I'm very bummed. Like
Oh,
this game had some pretty good reviews coming out, like or previews, and kind of had a good word of mouth, but it just fell flat.
Bummer.
Yeah, it's a bummer. But me and Alfredo had a good time, but I could see us playing it maybe one more night and then never looking back.
well, I hope that maybe they do an update or something. I've always respected this developer. I've only played Friday the 13th maybe like twice. And I understood it immediately, like this isn't my type of game, but I like that this exists.
Yep, and one thing that they're really good at is like a love letter to the franchises, like the Friday the 13th, and Ghostbusters has the firehouse, which is the main hub, and you can walk around there, and there are so many Easter eggs, and like it's the exact replica of the fire, the fire station. It looks awesome. So that's cool, but fortunately, it's just not the best.
Well, not every game can be great.
Yeah.
Maybe Ben has a better game that he's been playing this week. We'll see.
Yes, I will say one game that does not fall flat and lives up to all the hype, at least so far, is an absolute classic Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Another Halloween themed game. Look at this.
Another Halloween themed game.
We all are on the Halloween train.
I was like, all right, I need something in that vein. And
was that because of the vampires?
Oh, hey, that's good. Hey.
Hey.
I totally intended that. That's exactly what I meant to say. Yeah, but no horror games were really speaking to me. I just played Resident Evil 3, actually, the remake fairly recently, and I was kind of like, I want something else kind of Halloween-esque. And Castlevania Symphony of the Night is just one of those games that has just been on my list forever. It's a classic.
Is this your first time playing through?
It's my first time. Yeah, it's so many people's like favorite game of all time, and it's such an inspiration for so many other games that I love. It's one of the progenitors of an entire subgenre of Metroidvania, of course.
Yeah, it's the castle in.
it's the Vania and Metroidvania. Yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah, that's what I meant. Vania, yeah.
Yeah. So Symphony of the Night. I've actually started. I had tried to play this game maybe a year or 2 years ago, and I just bounced off it within 20-30 minutes. Got stuck on the first boss, and I just couldn't do it. This time I went through. I was streaming it a little bit. I was a little bit more meticulous as I went through, and just kind of like had to get through it mindset with the first bit. The game is not that hard. I'm not sure what really bounced me off of it the first time. It's not a crazy difficult game in any way. And it's just really cool. It's just, exactly what you'd expect it to be, having played any other Metroidvania game. Um, it's what I like is that it doesn't come across as much like when I played Super Metroid last year. It doesn't come across as um, outdone by the things that it inspired. Right?
Mm,
You play Doom and you're like, okay, I get it. I get why this was so great, but it's not still
right.
great. And all the things that came after it do what it's doing a lot better. Um, I don't feel that way with Symphony of the Night. I feel like there's still a lot. It just feels like this kind of lightning in the bottle scenario where it almost can't be outdone. I'm sure there are other games that blend this genre with other genres and or with other ideas and add new things to it, take it in other spins. I think Hollow Knight is one that I'm going to be itching to return to after playing Symphony of the Night. I never finished Hollow Knight either, but blending that boss focused difficulty of like Dark Souls and that their kind of bonfire checkpoint system that Castlevania, most Metroidvanias have to a degree, but it's a little bit more. The save points are like a little bit more cordoned off, whereas Hollow Knight kind of has that feeling of stumbling upon a bench, and you're like, oh, thank God, like that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so yeah, Symphony of the Night really really worthwhile. Still holds up for sure. I'm not super far into it, maybe 3-4 hours, but I'll definitely see it through
What are
to
you
the end.
playing it on?
I'm playing it on PS5, but through the PS4 release in the Castlevania, one of the Castlevania collections, the one that has Symphony of the Night and Rondo of Blood.
Nice.
Yeah, I might replay it at some point. I played it a long time ago. And yeah, it's up there with some of my favorite Metroidvanias. This might be a controversial opinion. I'm gonna say it. I think that 2D platformers is the one genre that really hasn't shown its age.
Well, yeah, I don't think that's controversial at all. I think that's very true. Because those are the ones that everybody's playing now. No one's going back and playing really the N64 games besides the really really good ones. You know,
Yeah, I don't know what it is about early to late 90s platformers that is they're still unbeaten to me. Like,
I think they don't put us off as much as the as like the SNES when they try to go like the original Doom. That's very off putting
Mm-hmm.
those
yeah,
graphics because it's like we can do that so much better now. The 3D first person look, but that 2D
right. And
side scroller is still just
you
still.
really can't do it. You can make it more stylized. You can make it a lot more like you can make the backgrounds look really well, but that doesn't help the gameplay.
Yeah.
And
I have a feeling that feeling that you're getting of these games really still holding up in comparison to other genres is not endemic to the genre itself. I think it's probably because we're like, for the past 10 years there's been a revival of those types of games
yeah,
ever since the kind of the indie boom
like
and this kind
Shovel
of
Knight.
return.
Shovel Knight was probably the first big one, I think.
I think Shovel Knight was probably one of many of these types of games. One of the earlier ones that I can think of that was super big was like Fez, which is not exactly like a traditional 2D side scroller pixel art kind of game,
Mhm.
but still takes a lot of those
Yeah,
cues.
it's like a remix of the genre.
Yeah, yeah, and Meat Boy too. Super Meat
Ooh,
Boy.
I was just playing Forever today, actually.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I have a feeling it's because we've kind of revisited this genre quite recently. So these older games that have been the soul of those has been carried forward into modern games, and then we play those modern games, and we get used to that mode of being, and then we go back to the older games that inspired them, and they're the same games. They're the same type of games. It's not nothing has fundamentally changed. right now we're seeing a bit of a revival of Doom-like, original Doom-like shooters,
Mhm.
and a kind of a nostalgia for the PS1 era of graphics. So I wonder after a little while of seeing those types of games, and I would say that also there, maybe to a point in the argument in your favor, is like there is something different between looking at pixel art and looking at like the really crude 3D of the
Yeah.
PS1 generation.
Oh.
Um, yeah. But I wonder if we'll come through this like PS1 nostalgia phase and then be able to look back on those games with a little bit more fondness and see them with a little bit more enjoyment. It might also be the control schemes that just really fuck it up though.
Yeah, I feel like we've gotten 3D so good now, and I think that 2D, it's hard to really expand upon it. Like, I have not been wowed by like, there have been good 2D games released for sure. I love Metroid Dread, even though it's like 2.5D. I Hollow Knight, what I played, it's cool. A lot of the roguelike genre as well is inspired by that 2D platformers as well. So, I mean, we've had some good ones, but I can't say any of them I prefer to play over like something like Super Mario World, or even some of my favorite like Castlevania games for Game Boy, you know? Like there's something about that era and where pixel art was that I think now it's just way too expensive to do en masse like it was back then. But maybe I'm just an old head who is longing for yesteryear. That
That
is
too.
very possible. But yeah, sounds like a good spooky gaming week for the Dukes or Mark Zuckerberg, Chicken Man, and Cole.
Say
What
Mr.
was
Ghostbuster.
Mr. Ghostbusters? I tried to get his name, but I got that wrong.
It's
But
Bill Murray's character.
I've never seen Ghostbusters.
Oh man, you gotta see it. You gotta see it. It's
May,
classic.
maybe one day. Do I have to see Ghostbusters 2?
Yes, Ghostbusters 1, 2, and the new one,
Oh my!
Afterlife.
Isn't there 3?
Yes, we don't talk about that one.
And there's the one that came out in 2016?
That's 3.
Oh, that's 3.
Yeah.
Okay, we won't talk about that one. But what we will talk about this week is some of the news going on in the land of Microsoft and Xbox. And we are seeing a lot of headlines coming out of Microsoft in regards to Game Pass. And so we kind of want to combine them all together, form a Frankenstein, and have it as a topic. And let's start with the quote from Tom Warren, where Microsoft says that Xbox Game Pass is profitable even as it sees subscriber growth slow, specifically on console. What are our thoughts on this? Do we believe that Xbox Game Pass is profitable like they're saying? And two, are we concerned that there is maybe a subscriber growth slowdown?
I I can believe that it's profitable, especially in light of some of the payouts that we've seen through the Epic Apple lawsuit, and also I think recently the developers of Arc, there was some discovery there, right? Like where they had to reveal, or some, maybe it was a shareholder,
I do remember that. Yeah.
yeah, where they talked about receiving a few million for Arc on Game Pass, and Arc 2 on day one. This all profitable is a squishy kind of idea because it all depends on how exactly Microsoft is doing their accounting.
Right.
If they want to say that Game Pass is profitable and they don't factor in development cost of Halo Infinite into Game Pass's costs, right?
Right.
They can say at the same time that Halo Infinite is woefully, unprofitable, but Game Pass is profitable.
Right.
However, had you just bundled those things together, it would say that Game Pass is not making enough to pay for the development of these types of games that it's getting on the surface day one. So I think the question can be complicated to a significant degree. They did talk about what there's like 2.5 billion or something like that for revenue for Game Pass last year, or what was that? What was that number? Sorry, I don't have it offhand.
I'm looking for it.
Either way, based on their subscribership, or like, their last numbers that they gave for subscribership, that would mean that on average people are paying like $7.50 for their Game Pass subscriptions, which means the significant subset of the subscriber base is not, is paying what I'm paying right now for Game Pass, which is $1 for a month so I can play Scorn and then jump out,
Right.
And they're pretty loosey goosey with the with the trials and all that kind of stuff, because I had a $1 for 3-month thing, then I unsubscribed from Game Pass, and then I'm coming back after a year, and they're giving me another month for $1. I don't know why I didn't put in a code or anything like that.
They want to count you in those subscriber numbers.
Yeah, exactly. By hook or by crook. I would have paid $10 this time because I wanted to play Scorn, but so yeah. Anyway, I would say that, like, I'm not certain that I totally believe it from the standpoint of it's paying for development cost of the games that it's undercutting by not selling them, namely Halo and Forza and games like that are very expensive to produce. I don't believe for a second that Game Pass is profitable enough that it can pay for those development costs. However, paying for all the second and third party stuff on there, and whatever accounting that they do to ensure that whatever fees or whatever they're putting on the books for Halo, that kind of stuff. It's interesting to know that they seem to be in a pretty comfortable place, and Phil Spencer has said before that it's sustainable for them. But what isn't for a $1 trillion corporation?
Right. You basically said everything I wanted to say. Yeah, I completely agree with you. Profitable is a weird word, and you can make it true based on certain facts if you want to include or not include certain things. And Halo Infinite is the most expensive video game of all time, if I remember correctly.
Is that true? Wow.
I'm pretty sure. I remember I saw that. And it didn't make them much. I don't think it's even possible for it to have made them much, because it was only sold on Steam. Xbox, it was sold on the Xbox store, but I'm pretty sure most people didn't buy it. I'm pretty sure most people got it off of Game Pass. So the potential cost of what you could have gotten if you had just had as Halo Infinite bought a la carte. If it were me, I would include that in how much is Game Pass costing us, because you're kind of sacrificing the opportunity cost of putting games like, eventually Starfield, games like Forza, like these are multi-million copy selling games, and them being on Game Pass, in my opinion, is a cost. But I highly doubt that they're factoring in that cost when they're saying it's profitable.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, that's crazy.
Right. But at the same time, they can afford to take that L because they are a $1 trillion company, like Ben said. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. They can basically run this same, they're probably going to increase the price at some point, but they can keep Game Pass at a pretty, consumer-friendly price for as long as they need to until it actually does become profitable. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I don't believe it's profitable right now.
I think that's their whole thing. Because when you put it when you say it like that, like imagine if Starfield was going to release and Halo was going to release at $60. I think Halo would make it would make $500 to $1 billion relatively soon. Halo Infinite, probably,
And it's still, and not to say it still makes a lot of money based on microtransactions. Not to, it still is going to make a good amount of money, just not as much money as if they just sold it a la carte.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't
And
able to find
Starfield too.
anything on Halo Infinite being the most expensive game. By the way, there was a $500 million development cost cited at some point that was later potentially debunked, but we don't actually know
Oh,
what
maybe
the development
if
cost was.
if it was the monk, I might be wrong, but I
Yeah,
know it's
I
I know it was
mean,
a very expensive game.
no
But
doubt.
maybe,
Yeah, no doubt it was expensive. It took them what, almost 10 years to make, right?
yeah. Good
But
fact
this
check
is
though. I didn't realize I got debunked.
Xbox is in this for the long haul, though.
Yeah.
They're planting the seeds for Game Pass, and I think it was a pretty big bummer though that they missed by from 70. What was it, 70 something percent down to 28? That
Yeah,
that
and
probably hurt.
what you're referring to
The
specifically
user
is
the user expansion.
this comes from VGC. Xbox has failed to reach its Game Pass subscriber target for the second year running. They had a expected growth rate of 72.88%. And instead, the subscribers, while they continue to grow, the rate was only 28.07.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this will push them to try harder to get this out on other devices.
I don't think that's an Xbox thing. I think that's a other companies thing. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
because
think
it's
it's a lack
localized.
of them not wanting Game Pass on other consoles. I
Yeah.
think it's, or other, even like a smart TV or something. I think it's the other companies not like getting the number they want from Microsoft.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how that works though, because you have Apple TV has the apps on Apple TV. They have, they have Amazon, they have Netflix, Hulu,
Well, those aren't
all their
direct
competitors.
competitors to them.
Yeah, they are direct. Hulu's a direct competitor. You wouldn't think.
To Apple, I don't think
Apple
so.
TV, Apple TV.
I don't think it's in the same realm as Microsoft as a competitor overall.
So you think that Apple wouldn't want to put Microsoft on their like Game Pass on their Apple TV?
No, because they have Apple Arcade on there.
Yeah, but that would be the same thing as saying they have Apple TV. They don't want to put Hulu on there.
I don't think it's apples to oranges, because I feel that they are really trying to get Apple Arcade like as their number, as what people are trying to play video games on. It's not working. But I don't think if you put Xbox Game Pass on there, what's the point of even having Apple Arcade?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, at least with Apple TV, that's been successful. That's one of the best streaming services. I think Apple Arcade being kind of their one struggling service, I don't think you want to put Game Pass on there and then nobody's going to be using this app at all. So I think that's why PlayStation hasn't put Game Pass on for obvious reasons. I think it's going to come to Nintendo Switch at some point. Like, I'm convinced that at some point you're going to get cloud gaming on Switch at some point. Is it going to be good? I'm not going to answer that. But I do think you probably will get that maybe around the time the Switch 2 is announced. But besides that, I think that's been the main. I don't think it's been Xbox not wanting to get it on other services. I think other services have been reticent to put it on there.
I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see.
It is. I mean, the projection is wildly off from the reality. I mean, 50% difference in the projection versus the actual numbers. That's. I would be curious to know what their model was. I mean, were they basing it off of the influx of subscribers that happened during COVID when people had a lot more free time on their hands? I don't know. It seems like there's a problem there, even though they're still growing. That's big. That's a big difference.
I think part of it was they thought that the cloud gaming maybe would be bigger than it is.
Maybe.
Like, I think that might be part of it. Maybe they thought a lot of people would be adopting it if they have an iPhone.
I know what it is. Starfield was going to bring in all of those extra subscribers. Then it got delayed. So it didn't bring in anybody. That's got to be what it is.
They should have said that. Why didn't they say that? Why wouldn't they have said that?
I don't know. Probably
Would have
because they
made it
don't
look a
want
lot better.
Would Starfield bring that many people in? Like, I know Starfield's a big game, but that many new people?
I believe so.
That's a lot of people.
If you're going to play it on PC or on Xbox, which is going to be millions of people. I mean, it's going to be probably 10 million people within the first month. Then you're probably going to want to play it on Game Pass if unless you just want to buy it outright. So I think
No,
I think it's going to be a
fair.
massive. Starfield's not the only thing, but like, what else did they push out of this year? Redfall. Was Redfall in this year?
Redfall was I mean
Yeah,
they pushed everything out of this year, right? Like
Yeah, exactly. So
I can't
I
name a
think
single Xbox published first party title that came out this year.
I think thinking about it again, that's probably the main issue is that they didn't have any first party games to speak of to drive
And
subscribership.
and Halo wasn't the big boom that they thought it was going to be. It started off really big,
Yeah.
but it kind of petered out to the point where it is now, where it has a player base, but it's nowhere near some of the other multiplayer games out. So I think it's a combination of a lot of things of why they didn't reach it. Still impressive though, regardless, but not impressive enough that's going to prevent a price hike potentially of both Game Pass and the series consoles. This comes to us from I know it's from VGC. There we go. Phil Spencer hints at future Xbox consoles, games, and subscription prices increasing. And this is from the man himself, Phil Spencer. How do we feel about this? I'm never a big fan of increases of any kind, but does this one feel justified?
What does he say exactly? Phil is a smooth talker. We got to know
Yes.
exactly, what the exact quote is so we can read between the
The
lines.
the exact quote is, I think at some point we'll have to raise the prices on certain things.
Okay. I mean,
That leaves it open
yeah.
for a lot.
This just seems like a bit of a given. I understand this is probably directly as a result of some question about PlayStation raising their prices and maybe even Meta raising the prices of the headsets, but and just the current financial situation or the economic situation around the world. But yeah, I kind of get this as a kind of shot across the bow to get people aware that this will happen at some point. But that I don't know that it necessarily portends anything in the immediate future. I think they want to probably enjoy the advantage that they have over PlayStation as long as they can in outside markets. Although PlayStation, of course, very strategically jacked up the price of the PS5 and mostly in markets that Xbox doesn't really compete in.
Right.
So
Yeah, I'm curious about this. I think I don't think a big increase to the Series X would be the worst thing in the world. I think a big increase to Game Pass is what I thought everybody should be looking at. Because right now, Game Pass is currently probably the best deal in gaming. It's a meme, yes, but I can't think of a much better deal for the quality of games you get, the guarantee of being like games releasing day one on the service, and you're paying, what is it, 10 for just a regular subscription?
Mm-hmm.
And then 20 for the,
Ultimate.
ultimate with PC Game Pass, which is what I have, which is the best deal I have, which is I get PC games, I get Xbox games, I get cloud gaming. I feel that going up by, there's not a specific number in the article, but let's say for hypothetical sake, goes up to $29.99 a month. That takes it from something that is a great deal to something that now I have to think about.
I don't think they go up that high. I think they go to like $19.99 for that, and then maybe like $12.99 for, because Netflix did that for a while. They inched up on everybody, and you didn't even know it. Netflix used to be like $7.99 or $8.99. Then they would say, "Oh, our price increase. It's going to be $10.89 now," and then the price increase.
Netflix used to be nothing. I think that was like 2013 days.
Yeah.
Like I remember 2013 Netflix, like I think it was like what was it, $8 a month?
$8. I think it was $8.
You can get Chipotle bowl for like $7. Life was good back then. Now you leave Chipotle, you're paying $15 for a bowl and some chips.
yeah,
And you're paying $20 for your 4K Netflix. So
don't even think about the guac.
Don't even think about the guac
No,
or
don't even think about
queso. Don't even think about
No.
go bankrupt in there.
Yeah.
But I mean, so you think $10 is a little that's a too wide of a price increase that they'll do?
Yeah, I think they go up just a few dollars.
Yeah, you don't want to shock people out of their existing subscription. I mean, the whole idea with Netflix jacking up the price is that we do it bit by bit, so that nobody feels like they need to cancel their subscription because we've raised the price to such a degree, right?
Right.
So then it's just grandfathered in, and then it's just an expense you're used to, and then you raise it by another couple bucks in a year, and the hurt at any one given time is small enough that you can just kind of, the frog in the boiling water kind of thing, bit by bit. You raise it to what's going to be profitable. But yeah, I mean, haven't we always known? And this is funny. This is the thing where it's like, you got to decide what your narrative is here, Phil. Saying that Game Pass is profitable and then saying, yeah, we'll eventually have to raise the price on these things is kind of, you're speaking out of both sides of your mouth.
He's
there.
covering all sides, right?
Yeah. Although he didn't specifically say we would have to raise the Game Pass price. He might be talking about the hardware. But, extending that idea out, he didn't specify. So the floor is open.
He's a master. That's a master quote, because he doesn't label whether it's going to be Game Pass, whether it's going to be the console,
the games themselves. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, and the games itself, I mean, that would be, because they already got that price increase, right? So
right.
It's that that would be the craziest development. If we get a price increase mid-gen, like for all like multi-platform games, that would be, I feel like that's unprecedented.
Yeah, that would be.
Like that would be a story. I don't think that would happen, but stranger things have happened. Yeah, I mean, I think Xbox is still in a good shape. I think they're still in good shape compared to where they were last gen. I think they're still doing really well with Game Pass. I think the Series X has, I think the expectations for it have been met at this stage. I think that they're doing really well across the board. Are they doing PlayStation well, console-wise? No. But I think Game Pass is doing really well as a subscription service. And PlayStation Plus, I think, has been adopted, but it's not Game Pass in terms of its adoption rate. And probably will never be so. And so I think Xbox is just in a good spot. I see that this might, depending on where these price increases happen, maybe can change the narrative a bit. But right now, I still think Xbox wins the narrative of we're for the consumers. We're the good guys. I still think they still kind of hold that position. Even with a price increase, I think that they'll still be able to justify it. But we shall see. We shall see. The narrative changes very quickly. Like, sometimes we get a game that comes out, 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, looks a little dated, and then we get a remake. And sometimes people don't complain about it. Like this. The Witcher is currently being remade. This comes to us also from Video Games Chronicles, and thank you again, Video Games Chronicles. The Witcher is getting a new remake courtesy of CD Projekt Red and
Fool's Theory.
Thank you. I don't know why it wasn't there. Yeah, Fool's Theory. And I'm excited for this. I've never played the original Witcher. We're getting a remake. Is anybody excited this is me? Like, is this just a me thing, or are we excited for this?
I think it's great. I think the original Witcher is super fucking dated, especially for a 2007 game. It does not look like it's from 2007. It
looks like 2001.
Yeah, it looks like 2000. Yeah, exactly. So it's dated enough that it's put me off from playing this game. I haven't even played the second game, but I love the third one, and would really love to dive kind of back into a Witcher game. And it's considering that we're not going to get a new entry in the series for a while, I think this is a good stopgap. And yeah, I mean, we've talked in the past about games that deserve to be remade, right? Thinking about The Last of Us Part 1 or the reported Horizon remake. I think with this game, it's pretty obvious that this one could use a remake. You look at The Witcher 3 next to this game, it is a night and day difference. And getting this game, beyond The Witcher 3's fidelity. I mean, this game's already 15 years old. It's going to be close to 20 by the time this remake comes out. We don't know the timeline yet, but we have to imagine it's going to be in development for at least another couple of years.
Right.
And it's going to look great. It's going to be a great entry point for people to get into the Witcher universe in games. I think The Witcher 3 is not really a very good entry point to that world because it's the third game in the series. So I think it's great to have something that is more, a modernization of a good entry point. Although I think the original Witcher, if I'm not mistaken, the original Witcher game takes place after the books. So maybe
I think it takes place around the seventh book, if I remember.
Isn't it? It's not open world either, right?
No, it's linear.
No. So how is that going to be? It's kind of odd bringing a lot of people into this Witcher, the open world, because that was what was so special about Witcher 3 was the open world, and now they're going to bring all these people into this different formula.
I would argue that the open world is a great aspect of The Witcher 3, but there are a lot of open world games that don't have half the story and the world building that The Witcher has. And so I think that just from the world building standpoint, I have not played one, but I've seen clips of it. I've read some of the Witcher books, played most of 3. I didn't play the last half of 3, and I didn't play the DLC, but I played at least 50, 60 hours of it.
You gotta play Blood and Wine, dude. It's so good.
I have no excuse. So I have it on Steam Deck. I have no
next gen, when's the next gen remake coming out for Witcher 3? Do we
know? Well, it's not it's a patch, or it's like a next gen version.
Yeah,
and that's supposed to come out, I think, for the end of the year. I think that was talked about. Like it's going to come out.
It was supposed to come out this year, but then they announced that they were taking the development of it in house because it was previously being developed by a Russian team, Saber Interactive, I think. I don't think there's a new date for when that the next gen update is going to come out. So
part of me feels like it's going to be a surprise, like just how Cyberpunk was.
Could be.
So, but yeah, it's I do have to finish Blood and Wine. That is in the cards, probably sometime next year. But yeah, I think that Witcher 1, I have not played it, but if the story is anywhere near as good as Witcher 2 and 3, I think we're gonna be fine with it being a linear experience. I think I like the idea of them doing multiple games in the Witcher series. And not just them all being these open world games.
Mm-hmm.
I think the story and the world and the characters are strong enough on their own that you can have a linear style adventure. It doesn't have to be Uncharted quality in terms of the set pieces and everything. I don't think it needs to be that. But I do think increasing the fidelity, making it look even better than Witcher 3 in terms of its visuals, I think it's possibly, a brilliant move. We'll see, because CD Projekt Red has been kind of iffy, and they got 20 other games they got to come out.
They're not developing this one. It's important to note. Like we said, Fool's Theory is the main developer on it.
They're helping, right? That's what the report said.
They said in the press release that CD Projekt Red has full creative oversight. That to me means that they're not working on the game. They're just checking in.
Sounds like a Rockstar and that one studio that made the definitive edition situation.
Hopefully not. Hopefully,
well, not the same, the same quality, but it's just like how how it was like they're looking over, but they're not actively developing the remake.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty standard like licensing type of thing where the person who licenses the entity that licenses the property is going to have some veto power and is going to be checking in frequently.
Right.
But yeah, how much creative, sway they will exercise over the project is a question. But I'm not sure that we should, kind of like what you were saying, Thomas. I'm not sure that we should take solace if CD Projekt Red is super hands-on this project. I think it's probably better that it's a different studio, especially because, like you said, they're so busy. They're working on Cyberpunk update. They're working on The Witcher 4, whatever that's going to end up being called. But Fool's Theory is is I think mostly a work for hire studio according to their website. They have one game that is not somebody else's game that they helped with, called Seven. Aside from that, they worked on Divinity Original Sin 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Outriders, which they worked as a support team for all of those games. So yeah, some good games under their belt, but also not a lead team. So we'll have to see how it shakes out there.
Well, I mean, if they can make the critically acclaimed Seven with Kevin Spacey and Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, then I feel like we're in good hands.
Great movie.
Although I do love that Seven, and I should give it another watch.
I think I have to do a rewatch as well. I've seen it 2 times.
Good Halloween movie.
That's good stuff.
Excellent Halloween movie.
Very creepy.
What's in the box?
What's in the box? That's what I'm going to be asking when the Switcher remake comes out.
Any chance this comes to Switch as a miraculous?
Oh, shut
no,
up!
Heck no.
It'll be on Steam Deck
for sure.
So you don't have to worry about it. They did say it was being developed on UE5.
That's
yeah,
nice.
I feel like it's gonna look incredible. I can't wait to see what this looks like, and then to actively compare it to how horrible the first one looks like.
Right. Can't wait to see the comparison videos.
Oh man, so yeah, I mean, I think that this is a step in the right direction. Cole, are you excited for this?
Yeah,
you're a Witcher fan, right?
Yeah. I beat The Witcher. I played a lot of The Witcher. I didn't play Blood and Wine. I'm waiting on the next gen version.
Oh, yeah.
Ben, I've always said that. You've always tried to get me to go back to it, but I'm waiting for the next gen version to jump back in. Do y'all remember, just real quick, you remember the initial reveal trailer for Witcher 3, how good it looked? Like you had there was like a scene with the burning village, and it looked amazing. But then the game came out, it was a little underwhelming.
I think it was underwhelming because we played the console version. I think they're showing off the PC version.
Yeah. And exactly. That's kind of what happened.
I was very underwhelmed when I first played it on PS4.
Yeah.
But I mean,
so I'm hoping next gen I'm hoping it's like the PC version.
Yeah, so I can't wait. The PC version of Witcher looks incredible, but
yeah,
I'm sure that the next gen version is going to look just as incredible with faster load time. So that's probably going to be the preferred way to play it. Yeah, but speaking of games we played, I want to talk about something a little spooky. Since it's Halloween, the day before Halloween, as of recording, we'll be releasing this on Halloween. I want to go over, at least talk about some of our favorite Halloween gaming memories and moments. I'll go first. One of my favorite moments, it's not one of my favorite games per se, but I remember when Until Dawn came out.
Ah, you stole it. You stole it from me.
I'm sorry,
No. Go ahead.
But so I've always been the gamer amongst my friends. My friends are into a whole wide range of stuff, and I'm the gamer of my friend group. And I remember I was in college, and I had gotten, I don't know how I got Until Dawn. It must have been a PlayStation Plus game, because I know I didn't buy it, but I know I got it for free. And it was months after it came out. It was around October. It was maybe like the 16th of October. And I was playing it by myself, and gradually people started coming in my dorm. And I looked to the side of me, and there are 20 people chilling in my dorm watching this game. And I swear, I don't think we finished the entire game, but we got through most of it in one night. Of like me just playing. And I'm like, hey, what do we pick, guys? That memory is one of my favorite, because that game, to me, I don't think that that studio Supermassive made anything as good as Until Dawn. I think that's one of my favorite of those story-driven narrative-based games, because it's so unique. You don't see slasher versions, you don't see slasher stories in those games typically. And Until Dawn was just something special to me. I love a good slasher. I'm not somebody who gets really afraid of horror movies. So when you play up the campiness, you got me, because then I'm looking at this as kind of like a funny experience. And Until Dawn is one of my favorite slasher movies / games. Period. So just having that moment with a whole bunch of friends, definitely one of my favorite Halloween memories.
I've never played that game, and I haven't because I guess it was part of the PlayStation Plus collection.
Mhm.
It had
Or
to have been, yeah.
I'm gonna go trick or treating tomorrow night with my kids. And I may come home and stream that game. I've never played
Yeah.
it.
Great
Tomorrow
idea.
night's a
Yeah.
good time to play that.
Great game.
Thomas, if you want to hop on and talk to me while I stream it, I get scared with. I get scared during games.
I have something weird about it. It's not you, it's me. I have something weird about me where we were watching a horror movie a couple nights ago, and everybody's like, and I'm just like, I wish I could feel that. I just don't.
I don't feel.
I don't feel like I'm
I
not.
do,
I'm not afraid
but
of this at all.
look, slasher movies really don't get me like that. But did you play PT?
I did.
PT was one of the scariest, probably the scariest experience I've ever had with media in my entire life. That game, gosh, it was kind of the same situation. That's what you said. I started playing it. I got my wife to play it. It's my girlfriend at the time, and I got my friends came over, and I was like, I would just put a controller in front of them. I said, "Play this game," and like they didn't even know how to play games, but I was like, "There's a door right there. Walk through that door and just see what happens." And then you go through that loop and you dread opening that door and walking through that loop again. It was genius. The game was incredible.
Incredible. That's one of the games you have to cut the lights off for.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't handle it. I really
Definitely.
could not handle it.
That's a good one. I love
Yeah.
pizza. Like hashtag make a playable version for PS5. Damn it, I want to play it,
Mhm.
and I want to play it on my TV again.
It's almost incredible. Like the game never came out, and then that is what it is, and it just lives as it is. You know?
And then now they're releasing all these Silent Hill games
Yeah.
and like, shh, don't talk about the other one. Don't talk about the
Yeah.
one you really want.
Nothing would have
But
lived up to that.
nothing.
Ben, what do you
Ben.
think?
Oh man, this is tough, guys. I nothing comes to mind as far as like actual Halloween. I had a story I was going to roll with for Until Dawn, very similar to your story, Thomas. Then I had a story I was going to roll with for PT, very similar to your story, Cole. So
We stole both of yours. Oh my
it's
god.
hard,
Dang.
it's hard to say.
Well, hey,
And-
go ahead.
and I hadn't been a horror game for so long, a gamer for so long until I got like really into games, and then I just was playing everything. But one game that is not like necessarily a horror game that has always really struck the right chord for Halloween is, of course, Bloodborne. And I've told the story before about how when I first played Bloodborne, I had never played a Souls game or anything like that. I didn't stick with the game on this playthrough. But I did get really into it. I played for like probably 15, 16 hours and made basically no progress. But I will always remember like the perfect tone setting ambiance of I had like, at the time I was just into burning incense. So I was burning incense. Everything was dark and I was playing Bloodborne. And I had my bedroom at my parents' house had like, the way I had it set up was like my desk was always facing away from, or I was facing away from the stairs to get up to my room. So I remember like my sister sneaking up the stairs and like scaring the shit out of me. Yeah, there you go, Cole. Set the tone. Set the tone. While I was playing Bloodborne around Halloween. But yeah, that's that.
That's a good one. I
It
never
is a
think of
good one.
Bloodborne as a scary game, but yeah, it does have that gothic feel to it.
Definitely.
Honestly, Bloodborne always reminded me of like Gotham City. I don't know why, because it has that gothic kind of feel to it.
Bloodborne reminds me, it is a game that just oozes atmosphere.
Yeah,
And
there you
like, I remember playing it with my headphones on and just being engrossed in that world. And it's almost like those commercials that you see, like when someone's playing a game and all of a sudden, like, there's just snow around them and they're in the actual game. Like,
Yeah.
I picture me sitting on a little chair in the gothic Bloodborne city. It was awesome. That game was really good. You know what else? In October, like October in general has always been a video game month because it's when all the great games come out.
Mm-hmm.
And used to, it's not as much anymore, but like 4 or 5 years ago, October was the month. That's when everything came out. And even in the like the PS3
Everything
days,
that was trying to get out before Call of
Yeah.
Duty.
Yeah.
you remember like I think like wasn't Horizon one of the first games that came out in the spring, like February release date? Then everybody was like hey, we should start releasing games in February and March. That's a great time to do it.
Yeah,
But
I think
before
Resident
that,
Evil
people,
7 too was also a really
yeah,
good
that one,
was a
That
really
was
that
good
was
hit
early,
for like
yeah.
a
that was the
January
first one.
release.
That was the first
Yeah.
one. That was the
Yep.
one that everybody started talking about. Like, wow, we're starting to get games in January and February, like March now.
Right.
Zelda was a March, right?
Yeah,
Because
Zelda
Zelda
and The
came.
Witcher
Yeah, right.
that whole year, or was Witcher that year, same year too?
Witcher was
Witcher was
2015.
2015.
Oh yeah, no, it was Horizon and Zelda was the same year.
Yep.
Yep.
But
They
before
came a month apart.
that
Yep.
little generation, before Resident Evil 7 and those games, it was always October. October, then you had some November and December, but mainly like there was those few October weeks and they would just hit like crazy.
So gaming as a whole is your
Yeah.
memory of
Yeah,
Halloween.
that's
That's a
exactly.
good. That's a good bet.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one. Honorable mention. I know it didn't come out October, but I remember playing this during like Halloween. Arkham Knight.
Yeah.
Arkham Knight's a
Oh
like
yeah.
that first level. I was replaying on Steam Deck. That first level is very scary for some reason. Like they put it like because like it's first person. You're playing as like a cop in a diner in Gotham, and you like get Scarecrow's toxin in you, and everybody has a toxin in them, and it just slowly descends into hell.
Even Asylum, the first one was pretty uneasy when you're taking the
Yeah,
Joker in and he's talking to you
yeah,
in first person.
The scarecrow hallucination scenes, good stuff.
Yeah,
for
that was good
sure,
stuff.
for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of serves as a reminisce of sorts, kind of throwback. But yeah, I mean, Halloween, I feel like gamers love Halloween. We love Halloween. So we're glad we're able to share Halloween memories with you all. I want to thank everybody for listening or watching the Dukes of Gaming podcast. Again, you can listen to us on your favorite podcast service. Watch us live on Twitch and watch us later on YouTube if you can't catch us live. Hit the bell as well on YouTube to get notifications on when we drop our latest video. You can even email us at therealdukesofgaming@gmail.com. Have your question read live on air. We post everywhere, every week. So make sure you start your week right with the Dukes of Gaming. Have a spooky Halloween, and I bid thee farewell.